This is Richard, and that's my channel at YouTube, and I am back. And like I said, we left off from talking about Sirens for USPM Month. Now it's time to talk about the follow-up release, which was released on March 22nd, 1984, and that is The Dungeons Are Calling, recorded pretty much on the same day as Sirens back in like 1983, but was not released until the year later. And some of these songs kind of also date back to their days as Avatar, which I failed to mention in the last video. They originally were called Avatar and released a single, and one of the songs that were featured on that single was called City Beneath the Surface, which appears on this release. The Dungeons Are Calling is definitely kind of a continuation in that sound anyway. It definitely still sounds like Sirens, just albeit a much darker and maybe just a tad bit heavier, a little more doomier as well, like I stated, since some of Savatage's early sound is very doomy sounding. Of course, it's definitely a good EP anyway. This is, like I kind of mentioned, since Sirens is kind of like my favorite Savatage album, this is kind of a close, kind of a tie. It just has a really good sort of, pacing and such. Of course, I kind of dig the darker themes of this album, with City Beneath the Surface being a highlight for me, alongside By the Grace of the Witch, and of course the title track, and even Minus Night. Visions at times seems to kind of go in and out. It's not one that I like as much, but who knows, I always my mind can be changed after listening to it, since it's just a solid EP. Again, this will be featured on the best EPs of, the USPM albums of the 80s, because this is definitely like a forerunner for maybe top, because this is just a great EP from start to finish. Of course, again, Chris Olivia, John Olivia, their performance is spot on. Though with this EP, they kind of also start to experiment a bit with keyboards a bit. I don't recall that much keyboards being used on Sirens. I just listened to it again, and I still can't recall hearing any keyboards on there, like synths, but on here, there's definitely sort of synths in here, but it's used for atmosphere. It's used for kind of like, just a kind of as a way to build up to these songs, which are just by far just heavy and a bit at times even more melodic, and again more doomy. The only less doomy song on here has to be the last track, which is titled The Whip. It's a speed metal song, not nearly close to the pacing of Rage or even Twisted Little Sister, but it's kind of close there. It's very new wave of British heavy metal sounding for here. Kind of like, I guess, even, of course, even Angel Witch had a very doomy sound themselves. And even Savatage's sound can also be, traced back to Angel Witch's debut. But The Whip is definitely probably the less dark sounding song on here. It's more sexual, of course, like kind of BDSM like style stuff, something you might expect from like either Omen or Savage Grace, or even like Anvil. It's just kind of that, a little typical, but still is a great way to end the album. It's definitely on a more upbeat note. Still not a bad EP, definitely a forerunner for one of my favorite Savatage releases. I can't really say too much about this. This is really just a solid EP from start to finish. If I have to kind of rate this, I give it a 8.5. That's pretty much what I'll give it. 8.5. It's not nearly as strong as Sirens in some ways, which I almost thought it was almost as strong as Sirens, but once re-listening to Sirens a few more times, it just ends up latching on to me. It just... but even playing these two back to back, they really would just fit like a glove, or like a 1-2 punch, I might just say. It's definitely, you can't help but just listening to these two back to back. Just it increases the experience for the listener. These are definitely some of the best from Savatage when it comes to also the US Power Metal days. Just great stuff. So, how will they follow up to these two, mammoth releases, I shall say? Well, after leaving both Par Records and Combat, they then would get signed to Atlantic, to them releasing the follow-up album to, the follow-up full-length album to Sirens. So, before I get to that, I want to say, I hope you liked the video, and if you have heard the Dungeons Are Calling, let me know in the comments. Is it one of your favorites, or is it kind of your least favorites? All your opinions go down the comment section below. So, until then, this is Heavy Thrasher saying I am out, and later.